how are you doing? We are starting now. In a second. Everything is not according to the plan, but I hope some of you will join us anyway. This is the good moment to share the link with your crafty friends, to put it into the groups or on your walls somewhere so we can talk about brushes together. And it's going to be, I think, quite informative session. Hello, Sam, and hello, Annie. Good to see you guys. I will make sure I switch off the computer. Something to look at. Oh, brushes. More brushes.
I started Tai Chi at 50. Now I'm
Hello, Linda. Hello, Jenny. Hello, Cindy. Good to see you. Thank you so much for joining. Hello, everybody. I have to say, I was sure today, well, almost sure, today will be no live stream because first I had to reschedule yesterday. We had some unexpected matters. We had to urgently take care of something regarding our trip to Poland, and there was no way I could do two things at one time. And today, just in the early afternoon, there was a blackout. The power went off, and it was not there until like 1 hour ago. So I was sure this live stream is cursed, and we are not going to see each other tonight, and that will be really sad because then the next chance will be probably in 2 weeks. So thank you so much for being here with me. And we are going to talk about art basics tools. So if you are interested, not only what these tools are for, but also how to take care of them and what are the best hacks and ideas to make sure they're going to last longer, or just to figure out what are the best techniques based on these products, these tools, this is the right place. We are going to cover stencils, brushes, silicone brushes, dabbing brushes, and spray bottles. And this is quite a range, but my plan is not really to show you every possible technique of using these, because we would never finish this live stream. But it's more about talking about the most important information regarding each of these, and what are the purposes of these tools, and how to use them in an efficient way, and what are my favorite techniques when it comes to these tools. So this is great for people who are not only beginners in mixed media, but also the ones who would like to expand their range of techniques, or maybe they would like to come and share their favorite techniques as well. So this chat is yours. If you have your favorite ways of using certain tools, that will be the great moment to come and share as well. So I can see you are coming. It's great. Thank you very much. Do leave brushes in water for weeks. My bad habit. I think we are all guilty here. Some of my brushes They are well loved, but no matter what, they are still working. So leaving brushes in the water is not good for them, but it's not killing them completely either. There's some much worse things that may happen to your brushes, and at least they're soaking in water. They are not completely dried out with the gel medium on the top, and that is a big, big no-no when it comes to the brush. So I've got some plan. Okay, I made a short plan on what I really want to tell you about each of these groups. But I also want to, as I said, give you some tips and the things I do with my tools, or some suggestions what are the best ways of doing things in my opinion. But you know, I am not the master of clean brushes. I have a lot of them, and some of them are in perfect condition, some of them not so much, because they have a limited lifespan as well. So they slowly go from the best brushes to spread perfect strokes of gesso to the ones that are designated to be brushes for some more rough techniques, and finally being taken to the level when they are perfect for application of the coarse rust paste, and if they die, they die. So they have their own lifespan and they have different phases in them, and this is absolutely okay and natural. So I hope it's going to be fun, and surely it's going to be informative. I really can see we've got quite active chat, so it's very nice to see you all here. Just as I said, give the video a thumbs up, share it with your friends. It's open for everybody. So if you can, leave a link on your Instagram story, leave a link on your Facebook. So whoever would like to join will join, and let's have a look at the table. Opa. Yes. So, I was thinking, because we have so many tools to talk about, how we should start. And I think the logical way is going to be starting with brushes and the tools that are similar to brushes, and then going to stencils, because most of the techniques with the stencils you have to base on some kind of brushes anyway. So that would be the best sequence. I think I need some extra light. Oh. So again, hello everybody. Thank you so much for joining. I have some brushes here. I'm going to put them on the side. So I think the most popular tool that I've got in my range is this set. So these are mixed media all-rounders. This is the set of 7 brushes, and they are lovely long handles, so you can use them for fine art painting as well. And they have a selection of shapes and sizes that will be covering most of the mixed media needs. That means you've got a range of the 3 small brushes in this set, and these are the ones I will use for painting precisely, you know, in some special parts of my project, going into cavities. So, for example, if I have a project like that and I would like to get somewhere, of course, I'm going to first paint it with the big brush, but then I will try to go there with the small brush as well. And also I use them a lot for simple picking up the paint and applying in desired place. So the fine brushes, I really my transition brushes. So when I take the paint and then I put it in the location here and then I spray with the bottle, I usually will use one of these 3 because they are small enough, right? These guys, They are the guys that are doing the job when it comes to painting big surfaces. This 1-inch brush is like my go-to to paint everything with gesso. They are all synthetic Teflon hair. That means the bristle is quite soft and it's going to spread everything really nicely. And when it comes to gesso, it's much easier to spread the product with the flat brush. And if you compare this to this, you can see they're completely different animals. Like this hair is beautiful and shiny and very smooth. This one is natural hair, but this bristle is very, very, I would say, hard. And at the same time, it adds the texture. So it's not going to give you beautiful, perfect brush strokes. This is the part of the trick when you have some problems with techniques. It's not the fact that you have the bad technique, it's the fact you have the very bad tool. So just to compare, let's take some acrylic paint. Okay, this is in pasta, which is quite thick. And if you decide you're going to paint some surface with with your brush, just the fact that the brush is too hard or too uneven or simply old and not really working well is going to give you quite problematic situation. You can see the brush strokes right away. It's because this brush, it's good for glue, it's good for creating textures in fact, but it doesn't really give you the chance to create perfect brush stroke that will be almost invisible. This is going to have a lot of texture. And sometimes when you struggle, it is not because you can't brush perfectly, properly. It's because your brush is just not doing the job. So I think sometimes you just have to maybe consider it's not your lack of skills. Okay, I took one of my brushes from the set and I just tried to do a similar thing next to that, and you can see, come on, you big blob, how much smoother this is. So it's not just, oh, it's a brush, because the bristle is so nice and fine and flexible, it's going to give you completely different coverage. So here we've got just flat Teflon brush. Here we've got quite popular hog bristle. And this is important difference. So once you have these brushes, you can do quite a good range of techniques. And one of the popular ones is dry brushing. And my favorite way to do the dry brushing is to use one of these biggest brushes and then applying gesso or applying paint in small portions. So if you try dry brushing with this brush, it will be very hard to achieve. Let's try doing that with the right one, the brush that makes sense. We can use this sample, and dry brushing requires very, very dry brush. So when you need, if you want to start, you need to get some paper towel to make sure your brush is going to be even drier. We just need to take a small portion of the paint and just get rid of the paint from here. You can use thick, highly pigmented acrylic paint, or you can use waxes, or you can use white gesso. This is probably the most popular product to use for dry brushing. So it's a thick white primer that is similar to white paint. It doesn't have so much of the pigment. So when I do the dry brushing technique, right? Oh, no, we just need a small portion, right? The brush I would take would be one of these, right? So soft tech long hair. This size or smaller size, it doesn't matter that much. I just make sure it is clean, which means there are no lumps inside after, you know, previous use. Sometimes when you go in there, you can feel some pieces of glue. I would avoid that. So I make sure it is clean. We will talk about cleaning in a moment, right? And then I will load this brush with my paint or gesso. So it has quite a lot in there. And then I get rid of most of it. As you can see, I'm trying to make sure it's almost clean. You can even check on your hand. If you start brushing and it doesn't give you much of the color, it means it's okay. And then I go with the side of the brush on the top of the embellishments, right? Like this. I'm not going like that because it's not dabbing. I'm not going heavily in. I'm more going with the side of the brush, trying to touch the tops. So for dry brushing, the flat brushes make a lot of sense if they are soft. Because if you're going to use one of these guys, you can see it's not even nice flat shape here. They're all kind of broken. Very quickly they break. This is not going to give you the same result. So one of the important things when it comes to brushes, they're not just for painting. They may be your tools for dry brushing techniques. That's why I figured this set is going to be exactly as it is. So it has the big brushes for painting big surfaces and for dry brushing techniques as well, so they can give you maximum of the, you know, options. And then we have the selection of the small ones, the ones that you can use for application for fine painting. You can see these are ready to retire soon. They are already not in the best shape, but I still use them, maybe not for fine painting, but for loading the paint on the project or for splatter techniques. Because my second way of using the brushes, which is not traditional painting, is to making these nice white splats. And this is my second thing I want to show you today. Second bonus technique. So let's say you would like to make nice white spots on the top of the project. You finished, you would like to add the galaxy effect. This poor sample is going to be used so much today. What is this sponsored thing humming in the chat? And for example, titanium white liquid acrylic paint is perfect for this purpose. In general, if the paint is too thick, it means you have to add some water, and that's going to work really nicely. So what you need is not very big brush. Then you need the paint that is not too thick. It's going to come off the brush easily. And then I load my brush with the paint. And then I will check, is it going to come off easy? You can see these are the dots I made. The bigger and thicker dots, they mean the paint is heavier. So if you don't like them, you can add a little bit of water. So let's pick up the paint and add effect here as well. See, they're big and chunky. Okay, let's do the big and chunky here. Right? Now add some water. So the paint will be lighter. Mix it. More watery paint will help you make smaller dots. Right? So let's go on this side. Yep. See? That's the difference. There is more water, the paint is thinner, the dots are smaller, the paint is thicker, and the blobs, the splats are bigger, more dimensional. So depending what you want to do, is one thing is the brush, second is the paint. So as you can see, my technique is I load the brush with the paint and then I hit it with something hard like another brush. And this gives me these kind of easy to control splats. So another way of using your brush is to use it for this technique. Where do all of the dead brushes go? Anyone else heard them of the chance they will end up in the project? Yes, I do that. I do that. This is my guilty pleasure. I hoard them and then I usually use them in the project. And you never know. They may be useful for something. They may be useful as an element of your project. Like you going to make them the main character of the project, for example. They're going to be one of the elements there. Sometimes I break them into pieces and I include them in the composition. And sometimes it is just the way that they will be used for some home improvement projects when I don't really need a fine brush that will be, just delicate and perfect. It has to be something that is ready to die. That's also happening. So now important question when we are drying this. How do you wash the stencils? How do you wash your brushes? Talking about this kind of brushes, right? So the Teflon hair. Okay, the only thing that has to be clean is the bristle. Okay, when do we need to know? This is a very good question. Okay. First of all, you have to look at the bristle. Oh, look, come on here. Especially with the pointed brushes, you can tell this brush is ready to go because it's not pointed anymore, right? It kind of is opening like a fan. And that will be the time to maybe not completely get rid of it, but stop using it for fine painting because there is no more fine line here. It's just going to work as like a fan brush almost. So that would be my brush that needs to be taken to paint application or paste application option. So if I need to dab just some paint somewhere, I can still use it, but no more for fine painting. When it comes to these ones, you can see what happens with this. It kind of opens up, and then you can feel here that's not flexible anymore. This is basically dead brush, but I sometimes use it for something still. So it means here in between the bristle, in kind of like there is a buildup of the product, and they are not going to make these strokes anymore because there's not enough flexibility. Maybe like half of the brush is flexible and then half of the brush is solid. So that brush is ready for replacing because it lost the flexibility. So it may be used again for some dabbing techniques. It may be used for some kind of like, low detail purposes, but not for the good strokes anymore. What is that? Okay, my question is, do you also have something that is showing on your chat like kind of like advertisement or something? Because this is what I see in mine and I just wonder what that is. I've never seen it before. So just my question. So if you see this kind of things happen to your brushes, this will be the time to get rid of them or to transfer them to old brushes section when they're going to go for special occasions when you don't need to worry about keeping them alive. Okay, so Flo has the same thing. I don't know. I just wonder what that is. Okay, so washing the brushes. What to do to keep it alive as long as possible without building up the thing, right? And there are many questions where people ask me, how do I clean my brushes? Of course, this is fresh pouch. They were never used. But most of my brushes, yeah, they look like that. They go through different stages of being used. And these are still perfectly fine, especially this one. Except this one had an accident and the bristle got burnt with the heat gun. So I can only paint with one side nicely. With this one, I can't anymore. So my favorite thing to use to clean the brushes and to keep the bristle flexible and soft and nice to use, it is soap. Soap and hot water. And the one I use is usually French soap. And this is based on the olive oil. But any simple soap that will be made on the natural oils without any special ingredients giving you some amazing results for your hands is going to work. So I usually have a bar of that soap next to my cleaning station. I just put that kind of good load of the soap on the top, and then I try to clean it as much as I can. I quite hard brush the soap inside of a bristle, and when I have some stubborn paint and I have some stubborn gel medium, I even use silicone mats like this. Okay, so you can see this has some textures here. I got it on Amazon, and I'm sure you can get it in different places. These kind of tools, they were designed to be makeup brushes, cleaners. So I clean my brushes on the top of this mat. So these textures, they help to take off the product from the bristle. They help to go deeper in cleaning. So sometimes I have to be really ruthless with that because there's so much going on in there. You remember this brush I told you, it was not cleaned properly for too long. And then halfway it is dead. So to avoid this problem, try to go as deep as you can. So that would be the solution I use for cleaning. Of course, sometimes I have to soak them. And then if I do soaking, I load a lot of soap and I put them in water. So the soap is going to soften the bristle. And then I wash it again in warm water. But this is it. They don't need any special conditioner as long as you have the soap that is going to be kind of like, oil-based, natural one. They are big blocks of soap, yeah. One of these is, let me check, 300 grams. So probably 2 bars of traditional. I got it in France when I was teaching last year. I just use it for everything, including washing my own skin as well. I just like this kind of soap because it doesn't give any bad reactions on the skin. And it really does the job for the brushes. So there's no miracle product really needed. The simpler soap you're going to use, the better. If you have access to the soap that people were using for, in the last generations to clean the house, the soap that was like used for washing, for the laundry, for washing the floor, for washing everything, that was probably the best soap you can use for washing your brushes as well. So here we go with the Teflon brushes, the all-rounded set, the one that I made some time ago with Prima Marketing. And these Art Basics brushes, they cover most of my needs. Even if I need to add some wax somewhere, I can use some of these to go into smaller surfaces. I don't really have any complaints when it comes to this set, because you've got a bit of everything. Yes, that's Savon de Marseille, exactly. And I know it is not available everywhere, but you've got equivalents, which is oil-based soap made in the traditional way. Yeah, the less fancy, the better. Are there any questions about these brushes before we will go to the next thing? You know the difference between the bristle brush, like this bristle kinds already? The ones that I have in my set, they are not the softest. The softest bristle, it's usually used for watercolor. This is something like medium way, halfway with the hardness and softness. So that's why it's very versatile. Hello, hello. We are talking about brushes. So we were talking about dry brushing, how to make perfect little splats using brushes, and how to wash them. And if there's any question, I'm very happy to answer. Because, you know, they are really the brushes that I use all the time. I have them everywhere in my studio. They are super useful. So I basically use them for 90% of the techniques, except some things that I will mention later on. So when you think about potential questions, I will show you there's also something similar, but a little bit different animal. They are the same brushes, but they have the other side of their personality, which means they are, as I was making the reel for this this part, they are double agents, which means on one side there is a brush, and these are the same sizes as in the set I was showing you before. On the other side, they've got silicone tools, right? So silicone tools may be easily removed and washed if you want to, or you can keep them on the brush all the time. So these silicone tools may be used for special effects, for application, but also for creating textures. Okay, so on the bigger ones, you've got tools like this. And on the smaller ones, they're a little bit smaller texture tools. But let's have a look as well. Okay, so you've got cute little texture. Oh, come on, focus. Texture maker. And two smaller, almost like silicone wedges that help you either apply the paste or to smudge it in a controllable way. So this silicone is going to help you create special effects. And you can use it in many ways. Let me show you that. So for people who would like to have more versatile tools, we also made this option, double-sided brushes, double agents. Oh, come on. Of course, when I say opened, closing the pouch is going to be so hard. Okay, later. Right? So let's have a look what they do. So you know that part, the same bristle, Teclon, soft and nice, great for painting, dry brushing, and so on. And then the other side. Right? I have some of the older ones here so we can experiment with them. So as you can see, they are kind of flexible, so you can play with them, using them as spatula, for example. It's one of the possible ways of using it. So let's take some product. For example, paper texture paste. It's nice, it's fluffy, and it's going to help us show some of the special effects here. Let's take a portion so we can play. So first thing we can do, you can just use it as a spatula to spread the product nicely. Paper texture paste is very fluffy, works very well to create texture, and slightly absorbing as well. Oh, come on. Right? So we can play using that like a silicone wedge. Of course, we can do the same on the top of the stencil, but because we have texture tool as well, if you want some special effects, you can play and create them right away. Right? So something that has texture in here. And of course, every brush has different options. So this one was quite hard. This one has more like a zigzag. So it's not going to be as big. So this is also the possible way of using. And of course, this one. So if you like creating freehand effects, they're going to help you with this, of course, and you can create a nice looking designs just by silicone, using silicone part of the brush. Also, what I like to do, I like to use this to scoop the product. Sometimes you need to, for example, stick something and you would like to get just a small portion. For example, let's pretend this is sticky gel medium, right? You would like to apply it on the pebble, small portion, you stick it. So that's also one of the ways. Silicone is easier to clean than the bristle of the brush. So if I have a choice of using gel medium, right, and people would like to use it for sticking, let's say we take an embellishment. Let's take a brush. If they're going to use this part, it's going to get hard and it's going to be very hard to clean this bristle. But if they're going to use the other side of the brush, it's going to be much easier to clean. Let's just take the baby wipe, right? You pick up the portion. If you don't want to make your fingers dirty, you can use it as an application tool to stick your embellishment. So these are just handy little extras on the other side of your great quality brush, right? So some people like to have the things doing more than one magic trick. So if painting and splattering, dry brushing is not enough, you can also get a set that has texture tools on the other side. So there's a question about paper texture paste. No, it's not clear. It's going to be white after drying, just like paper. Does it make sense? Any questions about double-sided brushes? So they create texture and they create opportunities to keep your fingers clean or to apply something in a precise way. Dzień dobry, bardzo mi miło. So this is like the core of the brush set range. Of course, if you have this kind of double-sided brush, you can also use the product with the stencil. Let's say I'm going to use this as my spatula now. I will take a stencil, any stencil here. Oh, let's say this one. And we would like to apply the leftovers of paper texture paste. So if you don't have dedicated tool, but you have this is your solution. You don't need to have separate spatula. You don't need to have a separate palette knife. This will do the job as well, as you can see. There's something on my desk that makes it very uneven. Right? Of course, glue. So you can see 2-in-1. Instead of palette knife, you can use the silicone side of the brush to make perfect application. Yes, absolutely. You need to take them in the shop. And this paper paste is quite popular because it's absorbing. So comparing to modeling paste I was showing 2 or 3 weeks ago, this one is going to absorb the color more. Okay, so we spoke about these brushes and we spoke about these brushes. I guess sometimes we forget about the full potential. Just I want to show you how easy it is to clean something made of the silicone. I was not taking care of this one, right? And you can see there are leftovers of the gel medium. Now I just made it wet and I'm just basically peeling off the leftovers. This is the advantage of the silicone because it doesn't really let the glue stay that much on it. So it's a great alternative to metal brushes, palette knives, or plastic ones. So talking about silicone tools, this is not exactly everything I have to show you when it comes to silicone tools, because I have a big brush that is just silicone brush. And it's supposed to replace the spatula. See, I have hard time with using this with my stencils. I have hard time when I have to be precise with these guys. So that's why I've got silicone brush in the range as well. So you can see this is 2 inches and these are the older ones. As you can see, they're still working perfectly. And there's also 1 inch. For some reason, I can't see a single one to save my life. But worry not. I know. I was packing for the class in Poland and it's already packed in the car. That's why. So you can imagine that will be half of the size. So here, because I love the fact it is so much easier to clean the silicone, and I love the fact that it gives me great control over my paint and over my paste, I suggested to put it into Art Basics range because it is so good. So as you can see, they're hard to kill. These have 2, 3, 4 years already. And that is perfect to first of all, spread your paint or spread your paste in a very controllable way. So, for example, if we take just the gesso, with the silicone brush, it's easy to just either apply like an icing on the cake, right? So you have nice thick coat. You can paint with a very thick coat right away, but you can also use it like a squeegee and paint very thinly. Look, super thin. And you can go very, very thin. So that is something that you can do on the large surfaces quickly and easy. Perfect to use with stencils. That's exactly one of the things I was having on my mind. But also when you have, journal pages and you need to apply the gesso over. And right, you can see, for example, here, that was done with this silicone brush. All these layers quite often is just like a coat of silicone brush before putting anything on the top. This is just super easy. I just go with the gesso and it's like a delicate coat on the top, exactly this way. So my gesso is like almost invisible. And this way you can go like super, super thin on the large surfaces quickly. So that is a way to use it. For the stencils, it's even better. So let's take another stencil here. So when you have stencils, you can load a lot using, maybe let's other side. You can load a lot with the silicone brush at one time. So I will close the gesso and I will take this paper paste just to show you a little bit more. How about using craft mat? Right? So we have our stencil. Let's take a portion of the paper texture paste. You can go directly from the jar. You take a portion and then you spread it like icing on the cake. Easy. And also at the same time, you cover a lot with one stroke. And if you are light-handed, you can go quite thick. You know that already. So imagine. Right? Different directions as well. This is a little bit broken stencil, but that is not a problem. So that is one of my main uses for the silicone brushes. And you are going to create textures easily, while some people struggle with these palette knives because they are rather small. So just to compare how this is going to work, come on. I take maybe another stencil, something maybe, okay, this one. Not exactly the same design, but similar. Also quite dense. Here the technique is a little bit different. You have to be using your spatula more. So let's try to do it the same way, straight from the jar. Also, again, easy clean. You can just clean it with the baby wipe and put it on the side and use it again in a moment. So right, so here it's more you have to be more careful when it comes to getting under the stencil by accident. You have to do more strokes, different ways. And unfortunately, with this kind of tool, quite often people complain they go under the stencil because it's more sharp. It's not as smooth. Oh. So you can see, especially for beginners, it may be more challenging. That's why I like the big silicone brushes, because they help me do the things easier and they cover more faster. They are great for painting techniques though. You know, if you do some fine art painting and you want to get some results, these are, you know, perfect for this. But for applying textures, maybe not the best choice. So this is why it exists, right? The big silicone brush is especially for the big surfaces, goes faster, it's more flexible, more control, and also you hold it differently. For some people, it's easier to operate like that instead of like that. It's personal preference, but like in my experience, they really make sense. So they are part of the range because they are super useful. So this is the silicone brush. And again, it comes in 2 inches and it comes in 1 inch. Some people prefer the 1 inch for the smaller jars. Some of the products come in the smaller jars, so it's easier to put a smaller silicone brush in there. And as I said, cleaning is easy comparing to some of the tools. Even after having these build up, you can soak it and then you can wash it with the, you know, nail brush and it comes off. So it's really, really easy. And like this edge is so flexible. Any questions for the silicone brushes? And I will quickly wash my hands. No questions. Okay, I can also show you one of my favorite techniques for quick texture using silicone brush. You can do it with the spatula as well, but this is very, very easy and fun. And silicone brushes in the dishwashing machine, I can see no problem. As long as the handle is going to survive, it's okay. So silicone brush. I'm trying to keep this one, you know, clean and spotless for presentation purposes. Okay, if you would like to create some fun texture and you don't really want to use texture tools, if your paste or paint is sticky enough, you can play by tapping and look. Modeling paste or paper paste, it's going to give you super fun textures. High peak. You can later use for some backgrounds for your collage projects or for home decor. And of course, it's really going to be permanent when it is dry, and some of them will be more flexible, some of them will be less flexible, but this is one of the ways of using your silicone brush for something else instead of just stenciling all the time. another way. It's quite fun. The best part is it's a fun thing to do. So, any questions for silicone brushes? I now when I noticed when people saw me doing demos with that, they couldn't really see what I'm doing close up. Some they were thinking it's a bristle brush because it looks like one. So they were trying to use big flat brushes with the stencils, and it doesn't work the same. So just in case, it's silicone or kind of rubber. Okay, so let's go to the next group, dabbing brushes. Brushes that were made to be used in many ways. So first of all, for stenciling and adding textures through the stencil, adding color through the stencil, but also to be long enough to give us possibility for brushing on the waxes on the top of the textures. So they are also multi-purpose. There are some dabbing brushes that will be shorter, like you can see. They are, this is not super short, but they are some which are super short, and they are not great for waxes at the same time. But let me see if I have any of the short ones. Really short? Probably not. No. But you can imagine that you would get a brush and it has only that much of the bristle. These are mostly just for stenciling, while these ones, they are kind of halfway. You can use them for brushing wax and for stenciling. So let's try it. Let's see how it works. So there will be no doubts about that. Again, maybe let's take a portion of the paint. Let's take maybe some blue paint. Well, this one is more empty. Squeezing. Oh. All right, we have a portion of the cobalt paint, impasto. And let's say we would like to create some effect with the stencil, and we would like to create damask on the top, right? I'm so weird. I use any brush for anything. Yes, many people do that, but it's not always the best solution. Sometimes you make your life harder this way because some of the brushes are going to do better job in certain ways because they were designed to do so, right? So, for example, this one has flat surface here, so it's not going to go too much under. For example, let's compare pointed brush. I don't use a lot of pointed brushes, but I have to have something here. Here, kitty, kitty, kitty. Here, kitty, kitty, kitty. I even have a toothbrush. Do I have a pointed brush? Well, that's the problem. I don't really have pointed brushes here. I had one. Oh, found it. Right? When you have a brush like this, you put the paint in there, and then when you go, this pointed top can go under the stencil easier. You know what I mean? It can go in there because you're pushing it more and so on. So it may get a little bit more blobby. That's why pointed brushes, they are not maybe the best choice. what we want to do is to have all the bristles the same length. So when you load your paint, right, and then you go, you're going only from the top, only hitting this one way. There's no movement that will go under the stencil that much. Of course, accident can happen and you never know. Things may go out of control because sometimes we are just unlucky, but the possibility of this happening is really small comparing to the pointed brush. Okay, so just to compare, see, dabbing brush just goes straight, boom, 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 like this, right? And even if you make circles, it shouldn't really do too much of the damage. Let's see. Here, I will try to do some circles in this part. Although circles are more risky, especially with the delicate designs, comparing to dabbing. But still, you can see quite good results. So this is why dabbing brush has the flat bristle. Does it make sense? Overloading. Well, see, okay, if you have the habit of putting too much, because it happens, kind of, you can try to put it on the palette, right? And then maybe learn as a default to always have a bit of paper towel, right? And then do some basic cleaning before you go on the project. So it's not super wet. You know, we all have to figure out the things. Like, it is not like, oh, there's only one way of doing it. But some things make it easier. So first of all, not pulling, right? If you would like to get good results with stencil, it's more like dabbing. Dab, 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 dab. Also, maybe round motion instead of a because then it's easier to pull the stencil as well. This effect may be also done with the sponge. If you have a sponge or a sponge brush, it kind of is similar, but these brushes, if they have flat bristle, they can do good job for you. Stippling. Yep. Does it make sense? So this is one of the ways of using them. With the paint or with the texture paste, you can do it with metallic, traditional acrylic, doesn't matter. You know, it's really sometimes the right tool makes the job easier. That is the whole purpose of having a tool. I will put it in the water. Just saying, you know, this is what I do with my tools. I have water containers and I always put them in the water. Right? So I don't leave them out. And now she's going to have me staring at my brushes, overthinking which one has to use. Well, if you're going to remember the, you know, flat top, round with the flat top is good for going through the stencil or waxing. This is a good step forward, right? And then if you're going to remember that the best choice for the, you know, beautiful strokes is the softer flat brush, it's a good step in the right direction. You can't really change all of your habits so quickly, but my point was to show you why these products are different from each other and what is the purpose of that. Because, yeah, you see, oh, they're brushes. But what do you do with these? This, for example. Now, and second way of using this, I told you I really like using them for brushing the waxes as well. If I have a surface I would like to wax, is it dry? Yes. And it's not exactly dry brushing. I just want to cover everything. These will do very good job for the delicate waxing because they are long enough and they will go everywhere if I want to. So what I do is I make sure they're not super stiff. So the best way is to have the one that was already washed once or twice, so it's not super, super fresh. So it's a little bit softer from this oil-based soap. Haha, Soap de Marseille. And you take your wax and you take your paper towel, Jenny, right? Let's say we take cobalt. Yeah, we take a portion. It doesn't have to be a lot. We're going to have live streams about waxes in the future as well. So you will learn all of that if you need to. Come on. Yes, they smell nicely. I'm so happy people like it. You know, we all have our habits, right? So now if I take this brush, instead of just using that with the stencil the way I was showing you, you can use it for waxing. So again, you load your brush, you make sure it goes in the bristle. You can see what I'm doing. Right? And then I get rid of the excess on the paper towel. So it's not too much. In fact, we need a very small portion to get waxing done. And then we go in the round motion. Okay, look. La 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 la. It's heavy waxing. It's not dry brushing. It's quite a lot. But because the bristle is flat, you can't go too deep. So the bottom parts will be still spared and they give us the depth we need. Does it make sense? And I'm not reloading the wax. Look, I keep going with the same portion because it's still on the bristle. Of course, you can go with multiple colors. I'm just going with one for demonstration purposes. And then on the background as well. Here, I'm not pushing the brush that much. I'm more light-handed. On the embellishments, I'm more heavy-handed. So this is also the perfect way to use these brushes for waxing and for stenciling techniques. I didn't put new portion of the wax. Everything was painted with one application. And now, done. So now when it comes to cleaning this, again, the key is treating that like a oily frying pan, okay? Because this wax is oily. So what you can do, first of all, you can clean the bristle as much as you can. So you remove the grease of the brush, right? Second, you go to the hot water and you add some detergent, some dishwashing liquid or this oil-based soap or anything. And in the hot water, you wash it. and until there's almost no color left. Does it make sense? If you're going to leave it in here, it's going to harden and it's going to be mixing with other color in the future. Of course, some of the colors will stay in the bristle, but this is just a stain. It's not really bleeding anymore. So it's the fact that you wash it with the hot water and soap to remove the oily residue is going to make them last longer. And to use one brush for other color, make sure it's going to be as dry as possible as well. So what I would do, I would use my soap. I would just add hot water and the soap, and I will also use this to clean the bristle as much as possible. Thank you so much, guys. I panic with heavy wax. You can always do in smaller portions. So you can also use these for texture paste to apply it. I quite often use it with the Rust Effect paste. I have some half dead, half alive rust paste here. But you can see this has texture in it. So if I'm going to use one of my delicate brushes, it will kill the bristle. This bristle is much more sturdy. So if I decide I would like to, apply some rust effect with the texture, these are also doing quite good job and they're easier to clean. So that will be also one of the ways I use these guys. They're very, very versatile. Yeah, Savon de Marseille, my favorite soap. I got completely hooked when I was teaching classes in France, and I got it for the first time and I absolutely loved it. So good for your skin. I'm happy you like them. We're going to talk about the special effect paste a little bit later on. Now we focus on the basics. So these were the brushes. But before we will go to the stencils, there's one more thing I want to show you. And this is the spray bottle. Yes, of course you can revive the paste. The paste is highly forgiving when it comes to the being half dry. Look, right? This is still wet. So first of all, I try to move it a little bit. If it's not moving, add a little bit of the hot water and try to poke it with your brush. Right? Hot water, not like boiling from the kettle, but hot. You can add some water to revive it. And the best thing ever, fluid medium, which is acrylic binder. It's one of the ingredients of these pastes. Add it in. And let it sit overnight and try to stir it next day. And it's going to be so much better and it's going to be usable again. Even now, you can see, because I did the revival not so long ago, it's already happy to cooperate. It's ready to go, to be honest. So even if it's like rock hard, you can still revive it. And it's good to check on them from time to time. And then at the same time, if you see they are drying out, add some water, some fluid medium, and make sure you close them well. I know some of you live in a very hot, dry places, so especially for you, it's important there will be like good closing, so there will be no air getting in there, of course, right? And not leaving them in the sunshine, because even everything will dry eventually in the sunshine. So we were talking about different kind of brushes, and I would like to show you why spray bottles are so important as well. These Prima spray bottles are quite powerful, which means they really spray well, and it's not so easy to clog them, which means you can do some nice effects using them as well. For example, you can make your own shimmering sprays. This is my own shimmering spray, golden, and I used mica powder, fluid medium, and water. So, just to show you, this is how it looks like when you spray. Just shimmer, and it's permanent shimmer. So the key here is when you make your spray, it's not just mica powder and water, because this is like eyeshadow. It's not going to stick. There's nothing sticky in it. So if you would like to make it sticky, there are two ways. You can, for example, mix it with the liquid acrylic paint, which is transparent, colorful acrylic paint. Or you can mix it with the transparent base, which is base of this paint, fluid medium, and you're going to get effect like this. So what do? Let's get an empty bottle. Just a second. I don't have an empty bottle, but I will make one. Now I have an empty bottle. This is fixative, which is fluid medium with water. You can use it for spraying on the top of the glitter, for example, and it's going to stick when dry. So you take a portion of your favorite color. Let's say for half of a bottle, maybe like half of the teaspoon. I'm not a really patient person. Do I have a spoon here? I should. I had. I don't, but let's say a portion, right? Yes, press seal. Press and seal is a very good idea for the mediums that are drying out. Right? So you have the shimmering agent. You need some water. Oh, we have some water. So it looks good already, but now we need to add something that is going to make it permanent, so it's not going to come off. So either you add a bit of this, or you mix it with paint. If you add just the fluid medium, it's going to be completely transparent. So if you're going to add some, for example, orange paint, it's going to give you also some pigment. And we take the nozzle, we mix it, and then we have our spray. Oh, so this one has both shimmer and color, and it's going to be permanent acrylic with the shimmering gold. Let's spray it on something to see what happens. Not dry yet. Let's dry it and spray it. Yeah, that's a binder version, just transparent, and this one is with the tiger orange, so it has orange tones in it. I will spray one part just with shimmer and one part with the color. So this is very good for the autumn projects. If you need shimmering golden orange, tiger orange with golden mica powder should give us very nice results. Our list of all the stock colors and products. I kill a pot and forget which the list of the product. You have to message me because I won't remember after today. I don't remember, to be honest, who did it. It's drying. It's not fully dry yet, but we're getting there. So let's compare. This is the paint and the shimmering powder, right? And here is just shimmer. You can see the difference. On the top of the paper texture paste, the one we used before. So the more you dry, the more of the shimmer you're going to see. But what is really cool in here, this is permanent effect. Where did you get the wooden block face from you used the other day on the blue project, please? Wooden block face. Just a second. I'm trying to think which project is that. If my brain is not working, please excuse me. We've been through some issues today and yesterday. The blue project with the face. The one on Saturday. Ah, yes. This was not wooden, that was HDF. And that was Artistico HDF. Yes. They usually have them in different sizes. Yes, the one on Saturday. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, so you can see now it's almost dry, right? When you had just water, binder, and mica powder, you only see the groups of mica powder now. If you added paint as well, you've got combinations of the shimmering effects and you've got combination of the color. So depending what you need, you can create your own sprays in the bottles easily. The mica powder is the popular formula, but also if you need spray paint which is permanent without any shimmer, liquid acrylic and water is going to give you permanent acrylic paint, because whatever is acrylic is permanent after drying. So you can see it's already getting permanent even on the mat. I'm trying to clean it, but it needs some rubbing. This is because the binder, the fluid medium, is inside. So that would be one of the good things you can do with the bottles. About safety, if you want to make this spray and you know you're not going to use it for a long time, it's a good habit to, first of all, at least clean the nozzle, right? So there will be no buildup of this sticky mica powder. But optimal situation is you take this out and you're going to rinse it until it's going to be clean. Come on, go underwater. Oh, thank you. Okay, that should be clean enough. So once you rinse it, there will be not that much of the sticky mica powder or sticky paint inside of the system, and it's going to last even longer. Make sense? So it's something that happens to even the best bottles, but this is a very powerful sprayer. So it's easy to spray with it. It's like a garden sprayer. But even this one, if you're going to leave it for a long time without cleaning the nozzle, may finally clog. But the pro tip is, if you're planning to just use it one time and then leave it, because you can leave this liquid for a very long time, you can just rinse it, and this way it's going to be safer. So another good habit, I know people forget about it, I forget about myself, but if you want to make your bottle last longer, this would be great help. What else you can use in the sprayer? Of course, you can make your own mixes. As long as they are going to be fluid enough to go through the system, they will be fine. Most of the times people experiment with the shimmering things. So you can probably easily dilute the metallic paint in a similar way with water in the proportion that is going to be sprayable. That's also possible to do. But again, remember, this has a lot of binder in it and mica powder, so clean the system before leaving the bottle alone for a long time. Okay. I would love to hear if there are any questions. I'm going to clean this bottle if possible. I will take the sprayer to clean, and then we will go and talk a little bit about the stencils as well. This will be my orange spray for the close future. Make sense? And this one I will just clean. I'm happy that gave you some inspiration. They are perfect shimmering sprays. You can use them on almost anything. Well, except this one is not used for a long time. Oh, yep. Just for fun. Yep. And of course, the more shimmer, the more likely clogging of the system may happen. So that's why I suggest when you finish and you know that you're not going to use them for some time, maybe not like in the one day or two, but maybe you leave them for a week or 2 weeks, just rinse the system and you can keep it in the bottle for as long as you want. Okay. I don't think there are any special tips I can give you about cleaning your bottles, because the only thing I had to say here, I already said that. And these are all the art basics tools that I wanted to show you, but we have one more group of products that are very popular and people use them a lot, and these are stencils. And stencils, they have so many options of techniques. You could see we use them today many times with different products and different tools. I'm just showing how pretty it is. Right? But we can talk about what are the most popular ways of using the brushes? So what kind of products people use, except paste, because everybody is using them with the paste. So let's have another try. We did some stenciling with the paint, right? With the dabbing brush. You remember that probably? So that was the paint through the stencil, but we didn't try yet the wax through the stencil. And knowing what you know, I would just love to ask a question. What kind of brush I should be using for this application? Maybe something bigger so we can see the design a little bit better. Okay, let's take this one. For you, the stapler, the stipple brush. The one that I was using with the waxes. We still have leftover of the wax here. It's the same as with the paint. We don't want the wax to go under, okay? Silicone with the wax would be a huge portion. So if I want to apply the wax through the stencil, I would go with the brush that is flat on the top, so the dabbing brushes. And I'll be going in a circular motion, pushing the wax through the stencil. And as you can see, I hold the stencil quite nicely with one hand. I maybe need a little bit more of wax. Right? Yes, the wax, the stipple brush. Yeah. So you can see it's more like waxing is more like rubbing it through it instead of loading a lot. So again, I take small portions, maybe a little bit more comparing to the traditional waxing of the project, but the effect is super fun and so easy to do, right? So really, it's the stencils themselves, they're great tools, but depends what you want to do with them. So, you know, the paint goes with this or with the sponge. The wax would go with this, right? You know that the paste would go with the spatula or with the silicone brush, right? This is what we learned so far. So the stencils are really thick. The stencils that we have at Prima, they're really thick plastic. So you don't have to put a lot of product to get good results. So for example, let's get some, I don't know, modeling paste. If I open it. Modeling paste is white after drying, but it is different animal comparing to paper paste. Paper paste is fluffy and delicate, while modeling paste is more like bubblegum, toothpaste. Right? So again, you have to spread it with something, hopefully flexible. Of course, wax may affect the results a little bit here, but it should not really mix with the paste because they are two different range of products. Wax is oil-based, it's oily, while modeling paste is acrylic, water-based, right? So instead of putting super thick portions like that, like blobs, you can go thin. And Prima stencils, they have a lot of thickness anyway, right? So I just use the small portion and I can put the leftovers back in the jar. And you get a lot of the texture here. So they are hard to kill stencils. They have really good body, and then with the good application, you get just enough of the product through the stencil. You don't have to load on the top if you don't want to. So, two different effects, texture and no texture. What else about the stencils? There's one cool thing that people don't really think about when they use stencils, but it's also one of the possible techniques how to use them. It's to use them with gilding glue and then with metallic flake, which is a little bit adventurous because then you have to clean the stencil well, but it's also fun. So let's say we would like to use this design to create a bit of metallic letters on the tag. To make the metallic effect happen, we need to use the right product. And if we don't want to use the wax, we want something else, something dimensional and metallic, and we don't want to use the paste that is metallic, there is also an option. You can grab your where's my glue? Here. Gilding glue for the metallic flakes. And you can apply it with a sponge or with the dabbing brush through the stencil. Possible, probably a little bit imperfect, but very cool technique. Right? So this glue will stay tacky until we will stick something to it. Let's take the stipple brush. So one of the ones I use for other things. And then we try to go through the stencil. You have to just rub it in. The same way I was rubbing the wax. Cleaning your stencil after that may be a pain, so don't use your most precious one for it. So we want to go through the stencil. So the glue will be just stuck to the places in the gaps. Now, you can a little bit see the effect, right? It is not going to be perfect, but it's fun. Now, drying until it turns transparent. So the gilding glue has to be transparent. This goes to the water straight away. Good cleaning for this brush later on. It's not going to be super transparent because there were some residues of the wax on the stencil, on the bristle, but it's okay. We dry it. This one is still too wet. It stays stucky until you will stick something to it. So it's just a matter of the decision. And then we take metallic flakes. So people use the stencils with jelly plate for monoprinting. I am not good at that. Please don't ask me to show you how to do it, because I would have to learn the whole thing from the very beginning, and I tried, and monoprinting is not my cup of tea. It's too flat. But you can use your stencils to create images in there. People use them with machines such as Sizzix machine to create embossed effects. Also not my kind of thing, because I very rarely use that machine, to be honest. So it is hard for me to remember about using that. But I am into glues, paint and things like that, so I can show you this technique as an extra bonus for today. Okay, so I will put it on the paper towel so it's easier to catch the excess. I will just dry it once again, just in case. And it's going to give you this imperfect, grungy design. Something else. Also, another similar effect may be using the embossing ink through the stencil applied with the sponge, and then sprinkling the metallic embossing powder. Just saying. Now it's supposed to stick wherever the text is. Let's hope it's not going to be a big disaster. Because when I did it before, it worked. But you never know. Just press it everywhere the text is. You take the big chunks off. Yes, they like to go everywhere. That's why it's good to have some box for doing this kind of things, like pizza box, for example. Okay, and now let's take one of these brushes that are still dry. And brush off the excess. And here we go. Of course, the bigger the design, the more definition you're going to get. And then, of course, here we had letters. They have some imperfections, but you can still see quite well. So even such a delicate stencil, such a small design can give you good results. Another thing you can do with your stencils, just saying. But in general, stencils are one of the most popular things. What I really like to do is to create effects when I first put, for example, modeling paste, I dry it, and then I cover everything with gilding glue, and then I put the flakes, and that looks like embossed metal. So this is super cool combination of the techniques, but this is also possible. If you have the design, you can do it this way. So before we finish, there's one more important thing to talk about when it comes to stencils. How do you wash them? Because that is a pain for most of the people. You probably noticed I didn't really do any stencil washing, but when I'm in the classroom, I have baby wipes all the time and I wipe them, and then as soon as I can, I go and wash them in the sink. Here, I have my secret weapon. So I have a bowl with water and I just throw them in the water. When I have to do quick demos, I usually have this kind of bowl with me. This is just the size that is a handy one. And as long as the paste is underwater, it's not going to dry that much. So I have the time to go later on to the sink and take warm water, a sponge or a brush and clean off the excess. Some of the products dry really quickly. You can see here, I was using some kind of metallic paste on this one and it was hard to clean it off. This was icing paste most likely. The paints, they will come off as long as they are wet. Waxes, no. They will need hot water and this water, so this is the kind of detergent. Gilding glue also likes hot water and soap. So they really can handle quite a lot of scrubbing. Which means if you soak them, if you're going to add some strong detergent and you will come with the brush, you can wash them really well. However, with the stubborn problems, so when brush and soap is not doing the good job, you can soak them in pre-washing powder or stain remover. This is also a very good solution. I have at home something that is called Biotex. It's from the Netherlands. And it is something for like stubborn stains on clothes. It's supposed to lift it. So it's an active agent. It's not exactly the same as Oxy Action. I know in different countries they have different kind of stain removers and they have different options, but something that will be like active enzymes you use before washing or for laundry, for washing, it's going to help lift these stubborn stains from your stencils as well. Hot water, this kind of solution, something that is going to help remove the stains. And that helps to lift all these stubborn gel mediums, stubborn pastes, and scrub off most of the problems. It kind of gets not like dissolved, it kind of gets a little bit flaky and it comes off when you start brushing it. So it is a solution for the very caked, very stubborn stencils. And this is what I do usually after classes. It happens that, when you teach a class and you have the students using the same stencil, and we have the environment when people want to go from one step to another, of course, we try to put them in the bowl of water, in the basin. If we take them to the sink and we wash them, but reality is there are other priorities in the classroom than cleaning the stencil perfectly. So once I come back home, some of these stencils, they really need a wash. So this is what I usually do. And these kind of, they can, first of all, you can see they're thick. Let me show you that again. They're thick plastic, right? So they can hold a lot of texture. So you can load them with texture when you apply a thick coat, but also they are strong enough to go through washing nicely. So you can use the quite aggressive washing solutions, such as bioactive enzymes for laundry. And you can use the brushes of different kinds to go through all these textures without breaking them. Of course, if it's a handwritten text and it's very, very fine detail, something may get a little damaged in the end. But the quality of the stencils is giving us a huge range of techniques but also giving us a great opportunity to keep them clean if this is something you enjoy. Some people love to have clean stencils, and some people think it's not that important. It really depends what kind of techniques they do. If they go for messy, grungy look, a little bit of the mess on the stencil is not going to make a big difference. But if they want to have super precise results, especially imagine they are making stenciling on the panel that is going to be the the main decoration, like home decor, like a decorative tray, for example, and they want this perfect crisp design, the stencil has to be clean. If it's not clean, it's going to be very hard to apply smooth coat. And if it's not clean, it's going to be hard to get all these details right. So when you go for the perfect look, the stencil should be clean. If you're going for unexpected mess, the bit of the cake on the stencil is not a problem. Well, mixer tabs are useless. Well, wow, yes. Well, we have some strange situations here. Hot water tank makes some super effects. We also have hot water tank, so you can burn yourself if you are not careful. But yes, I think in all of the rooms, well, bathrooms, kitchens, except one, we made sure we've got hot and cold water mixer. It's not like two separate taps, because I can't really imagine how you can do any proper washing in two separate taps. I know people use the bowls like this for washing in the bowl and then rinsing, but this is what we did 30, 40 years ago in my summer house in Poland, and I'm done with this. I'm sorry if I'm disrespecting the tradition, but I've done it so many times, washing dishes in the bowls, and I'm completely done for the rest of my life. So the water in the tap has to be just the right temperature, because I'm not going to use any bowls unless we've got shortage of water and we are in desperate need of saving everything. So as you can imagine, these stencils are only soaking in that bowl. Later, I'm going to go to the sink in the studio and I'm going to give them a proper wash. So that is a good tip, just in case. I only damaged my stencil one time by accident by the heat gun, which means I was heating something with the heat gun, I didn't pay attention, and I melted it. This is unfortunately the accident you can't, you can't avoid if you are not careful. These are strong, but it's only plastic, so there's no way you can do something about it. And if you have my question to you, do you have your favorite technique to present or to advise to us for the stencils? What is your favorite way of using stencils? So we can pick up your mind and get some advice. Like, what is your favorite, maybe the most surprising technique you use the stencils for, if you have it? Because I told you my favorite lately is the stenciling together with metallic flakes on the top, like the metal, embossed metal effect. I don't have the box here to show you because I gave it as a gift, but it's super cool. Okay, texture paste with the stencil. over a paper. Paste with spatula. By the way, paste with spatula. Another cool way I can show you. Messy stencil technique. We need some paste and we need stencil. I put paper pulp in larger stencils. Yeah, that's a very, very good idea. Modeling paste to stencil on the vintage book pages. That is very cool. Texture paste or ink. Yes, we didn't do the spraying through the stencil. I think this is a very popular technique as well. But I want to show you alternative version of using a stencil. We will start with the texture on. So let's say some modeling paste, for example, right? And then we make super sticky, like icing on the cake. Here's the booger. Crusty. Right? So we try to spread it nicely. Of course, if it's fresh, it's easier. So once we have the texture on, so then we put the stencil on and we press it. And we pick up the excess. Right? So it's going to be a combination of stamping and texture at the same time. Like this. Looks like leather with the embossing on it. So for some grungy effects, alternative way is like this. So if you imagine that will be maybe in some brown color, you can imagine that would be like hot embossed leather effect. Just another option, you know, just saying it is possible. And of course, this goes straight to the water. I like spraying through them and then getting the ghost print. Yes, this is very cool thing. Nuneka was showing that in her stencil video. I was showing that in my stencil video. I mean the short videos we made on Instagram and Facebook, the reels. That is such a cool way because you get more than one print from the stencil and you use up the leftovers of the ink. Sorry. Let's see what happens if I'm going to press one more into it. Now I have super skinny version. We'll see what happens. Yeah, it's Stucco-like. Totally. I'm just doing... Still kind of cool. I'm not sure if you can see it. Maybe a bit. Even very small portion picked up the design. Let's dry it and see what happens. I usually put quite thick coat. Yes, crackle paste through stencil. It's very cool, especially when the design is bolder, bigger, so you can see the crackle through it very nicely. Yes, faded background effect. Here I should do it on some, you know, plain paper, not on the colorful one, but We will see what happens. And it was just a little bit of the stencil and modeling paste. Some water. Not too bad. So there's always space for experiments. Embossing powder, yes, on the wet paste through the stencil. After paste dry, use the heat gun over powder. Yes, you get like a puffy design. Very cool. This is quite nice. Well, we created some quite grungy visual drama here. So, yeah, pressing the stencil in the paste, even in the small portions, still gives you great effect. Exactly, some patina and metallics. Have you got any questions before we finish? I hope you enjoyed and that was useful and helpful. I didn't want to focus just on the techniques one after another because there are so many tutorials when we show the techniques and there are so many great ideas, but I was trying to focus on purposes of different products so you know why we use certain brush for certain things and maybe give you the confidence to, you know, make friends with the silicone brush or with double-sided brush, which is like double trouble. You've got your brush and you've got your spatula or texture tool, or you're going to discover the joys of using these kind of bad boys because they are super helpful for so many techniques. Thank you very much. I hope you had a good time. Remember, if you have questions and you're watching the replay, you can always comment under the live stream so I can find the comment and respond later. And of course, don't be shy. Give it a like, share it with your friends, let them learn about differences between brushes and what to do with the silicone brush and what to do with the stencil, how to clean them, how to keep them safe. And of course, you've got all the information about where to find me on Patreon or Instagram or Facebook in the description below. So all of these informations, they're waiting and you can absolutely look for the products on Prima retail website. The link is going to be there in a moment. I'm going to post it now for you. And if you are United States located, all the products, all the shopping starting at $75 is going to be free shipping. So this is a nice offer that Prima has for you. All the other people from outside of the US, check with your local retailers and let them know if you're looking for something. For example, this perfect stencil or that perfect brush. Thank you so much again. We'll see each other soon. Keep your fingers crossed for us because The truth is, we were supposed to be on the ferry today, but it didn't happen because the ferry was cancelled. So it was an interesting couple of hours. And let's hope everything will go smoothly and we will be on time in Poland. So keep your fingers crossed. Dziękuję bardzo paniom z Polski, bardzo mi było miło, cieszę się. Jeśli coś trzeba dopytać, to się proszę nie wstydzić, tylko zapytać też w komentarzu. Bardzo dziękuję. So see you very soon and don't forget to share the link. Yeah, fingers crossed, please. Don't forget to share the link. Don't forget to send your crafty friends here so they can watch this and the previous live streams as well and get all the knowledge they need. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful creative rest of the week. It's supposed to be Mixed Media Monday, but happened to be Tuesday. Anyway, there will be a short break in Mixed Media Mondays now. It will resume very soon once I'm back from Poland. So stay tuned. We are going to be in touch. Thank you and have a wonderful creative week. Bye.